Although the circuit did attract the World Sports Car Championship in the mid-80s and Grand Prix bikes in the 90s, its facilities remain pretty much as they were. Good enough for the locals to prove who's best. Not, however, the sort of scene that would attract Mr. Eccleston and his Formula One circus. But this is... The Sepang circuit is a completely new multi-million-pound complex built right next door to the equally new Kuala Lumpur airport. The main grandstand seats 30,000 with a capacity for 100,000 more on the slopes that surround the track. We were there before the covers had even come off the seats. This weekend, the polished garage floors will see Grand Prix cars for the very first time, as the control rooms come alive for the first running of the Formula One Malaysian Grand Prix. But impressive as the facilities may be, what's more important to me is what this bit is like, the 3.4-mile track itself. And perhaps there's no more appropriate car to try it in than one built by Proton, the Malaysian company that now has a 67% share in its home market. And it has high hopes that this new GTI model, which goes on sale in Britain this week, will do for Proton what the track hopes to do for Malaysia. And like the circuit, first impressions are pretty favourable. A snazzy rear wing, a pair of unusual square tailpipes, GTI styling wherever you look, both on the outside and the inside. And perhaps it's also appropriate that this GTI is a silver one, because if I was a betting man, I reckon that'll be the colour of the car on pole position this weekend. Right, red lights are all on, and they're off! When Hackner makes a flyer from pole! The start-finish straight is actually the longest straight on the circuit, and it leads to a very tight opening corner that's called the Pung Lau Kau chicane, which, like the rest of the corners, is named after a Malaysian holiday resort. I can't wait to hear Murray get his tongue round a few of the others. But this really is a very tight opening corner with very little runoff. It's actually one hairpin right, followed immediately by a hairpin left. And I can't really see all the cars getting round those two corners on the opening lap. They're followed by a huge, fast sweeping right-hander, which I reckon will be taken flat out in the dry, and this is right at the lowest part of the circuit. As we approach then a crested uphill right-hander, which, like a lot of the corners, has got nasty cambers. They're going to test the cars for traction, but it's actually faster than it looks. There's a low curb on the apex, and it's a feature of the circuit. I think a lot of the cars are going to be cutting across the grass on apexes where they can find extra bits of time. In now to my favourite corner, this long, fast left, which goes immediately into a long, fast right. This is going to be the big balls section of the track. A little short shooting straight now, about halfway around the lap. And it's braking for a very tricky yet crucial double apex right-hander. 1 second apex, and this leads out now onto another longish straight down to yet another tight hairpin. If anything about this circuit, perhaps it has got one tight hairpin too many. This one, a left-hander, uphill. Already this little GTI is very impressive. It's the first Proton that's had not only Lotus suspension improvements, but it's also had Lotus styling involved. So this is why it's got the Lotus badge on the back. They're proud of it, but what I've felt so far, it should be. And now we're down to Sunway Lagoon, almost at the end of the lap now. And this is a very interesting section because it's fast left, fast right, and then braking across the road to go down to second on this final, very important corner. This is where you need your speed onto the straight if there's going to be any chance to get a car on this last corner. Long straight, very wide circuit, beautifully smooth, very impressive. I did just one lap in air-conditioned luxury. The Grand Prix drivers face 55 in oppressive heat and humidity. Now, how late can we brake for the Patronus hairpin? Oh, is that too late, Tiff? Oh. Again, smooth curbs. I'd love to go over them. They put cones on them today, but they won't be there when the big boys are there. And there goes one 3.4 mile lap of this new Grand Prix circuit. So a very impressive circuit and a pretty impressive little car. And I've just had a thought. As the F1 boys won't be here for a couple of days, I think I'll just go out and set myself another Malaysian track record. Mind you, I don't think this one will last 20 years.